At 80 years old, Helen Mirren stands before the world as a symbol of elegance, strength, and unmatched talent, the kind of woman whose presence alone demands attention. To millions, she is timeless, unshakable, a queen in every sense. But behind the breathtaking grace and regal poise lies a story far more fragile than fans ever imagined. For decades, Helen Mirren carried a private weight, a pain she rarely allowed the world to see. A life defined by brilliance, yes, but forged through quiet heartbreak, loss, and a constant struggle against an industry determined to judge women not by their artistry, but by their age, appearance, and worth. This is not the story of a fading star. It is the story of a woman who climbed to the top of cinema only to discover that even there, loneliness follows. A woman who faced grief, battled insecurity, and lived through tragedies that left scars no fame could erase. The world sees a legend. Few ever see the cost of being one. And now, with time moving faster than ever, Helen Mirren looks back on a life filled with applause and moments she wished she could rewrite. What she reveals about love, loss, and the invisible battles she fought will leave your heart heavy and your respect for her greater than ever. Helen Mirren's rise to greatness seemed effortless, a woman destined to rule stages and screens. But her journey began in quiet pain. As a young girl, she watched her family fracture under emotional weight, learning early how fragile security can be. Fame wasn't handed to her. She chased it while wrestling with self-doubt, the pressure to be perfect, and the painful fear that she might never truly belong. And when success finally arrived, Helen discovered a cruel truth. Hollywood celebrates youth, then punishes women for outgrowing it. While male actors aged into legends, she faced whispers that her time would run out, that age would steal her career long before she was ready to let go. She fought back, refusing to be erased, but every victory came at a cost. She hid tears behind red carpet smiles. She built armor from confidence she didn't always feel. Behind the scenes, real heartbreak unfolded. The loss of her beloved brother, Peter, to cancer shattered her in a way that never healed. She once admitted that grief changes you forever, and that part of her heart has remained quietly broken ever since. And though she became one of the greatest actresses of her generation, she also lived with another private sorrow. She never had children, a choice she defended fiercely, yet one that brought its own moments of aching reflection. Even in love, peace wasn't immediate. Before finding stability with Taylor Hackford, she endured years of uncertainty, loneliness, and relationships strained by fame's demands. And now, as she enters the later chapters of her life, Helen speaks openly about time, how it steals the people you love, how it forces you to face yourself without distraction. She watches a world she once conquered move forward, younger faces replacing familiar ones, and she confronts a truth every icon eventually faces. Applause fades, and legacy becomes memory. Yet her tragedy is not defeat. It is the quiet ache of a woman who gave everything to her craft, only to learn that success cannot protect you from life's sharpest edges. And still she remains powerful, poised, unbroken. Not because she avoided heartbreak, but because she survived it. That's the real story. Not a fall, but the heavy climb and the unspoken cost of staying at the top. For decades, Helen Mirren moved through Hollywood like a force of nature, graceful, commanding, poised. She became the embodiment of dignity on screen, playing queens, rulers, and women of unshakable presence. But the world never saw the quiet heartbreak that lived behind her confidence, the unseen sacrifice demanded by a life in the spotlight. While audiences adored her, the industry she conquered was not built to love women as they age. There were years when directors dismissed her, years when executives told her she wasn't beautiful enough, young enough, marketable enough. These words did not break her, but they bruised her. And like many women in Hollywood, she learned early, power must be earned twice, once through talent and again through survival. When others expected her to soften, she sharpened. When they pushed her aside, she stepped forward. But even legends get tired. And in quiet dressing rooms and silent hotel nights, she sometimes wondered whether the world respected her or simply needed her to prove it. could still accept a powerful older woman. Behind her commanding performances was a woman who fought constant internal battles, self-doubt, emotional exhaustion, and the weight of representing women who never got the chance she had. She felt responsible to take roles that mattered, to show aging could be beautiful, fierce, artistic. With every line she delivered, she carried not just herself, but thousands of women who'd been told their time had come and gone. And still, when the award ceremonies ended, when the flashbulbs cooled, Helen went home to the truth that fame cannot warm a quiet house. For many years she faced solitude. She loved deeply, yes, but she lived many seasons without the comfort of children, without the familiar noise of family life surrounding her. She once admitted that she didn't feel maternal, yet life has a cruel way of making even the strongest question the paths they didn't walk. Birthdays passed. Friends became parents, then grandparents. And sometimes, even when she told herself she was fulfilled, she felt a quiet ache, the human ache of wondering what if. Her grief over her brother never softened. His absence became a shadow she couldn't outrun, a reminder that no matter how many roles she played, some chapters were written in tears. And every time she thought of him, she felt time as a thief, taking faces, voices, laughter that once felt endless. Hollywood saw a queen. But she felt life's weight like everyone else, the fear of being forgotten, the ache of watching the world change faster than she could hold on, the terrifying awareness that eventually applause turns into memory, and yet she endured. In her fragility lived strength. In her sorrow lived wisdom. She carried her heartbreak like a crown, never collapsing beneath its weight, even when the world didn't know she was carrying anything at all. Because Helen Mirren never needed the world to see her pain. She only needed to survive it. And she did, with grace that couldn't be scripted, power that couldn't be rehearsed, and a heart strong enough to break and still keep beating. For most of her life, Helen Mirren seemed untouchable, a woman of fierce confidence, razor-sharp wit and unstoppable grace. Yet behind the poised red carpet presence and the celebrated performances, there were years marked by inner turbulence and deeply personal challenges the public rarely saw. Fame brought applause, but it also cast long shadows over her private life, shadows that Helen battled quietly, far away from cameras and glowing headlines. Even as she collected awards and worldwide admiration, Helen carried the emotional weight of expectations. Being labeled the most powerful woman in acting sounds glamorous, but for Helen, it meant living under constant scrutiny, her career choices questioned, her appearance dissected, her dignity challenged at every turn. Casting directors dismissed her early on, insisting she was too sensual to be taken seriously. Journalists often focused more on her figure than her acting craft, turning interviews into interrogations about her body rather than discussions about her artistry. This objectification followed her for decades, leaving deeper emotional scars than many realized. Helen, always poised, responded with intelligence and strength. But behind those sharp responses was a woman worn down by a world that judged her more for her body than her mind. Fame demanded perfection, and any perceived misstep could be twisted, exaggerated, or immortalized in headlines. But it wasn't only professional pressure that weighed on her. Helen faced painful personal struggles, too, ones she revealed only years later, long after the public thought they knew everything about her. She admitted that her earliest years in Hollywood were filled with deep self-doubt and paralyzing insecurity. While fans saw a confident star, Helen fought silently against anxiety and moments of emotional despair. She once confessed that she didn't always believe she would make it, or even that she deserved to. Relationships, too, were complicated. Before finding lasting love, Helen experienced heartbreaks and emotional turmoil, often isolating herself to avoid vulnerability. For someone seen as fearless on screen, trust was difficult, and letting people close took time. Over the years, she carried private grief, losing loved ones, watching family members age and face illness, and dealing with the painful realization that even icons cannot escape life's hardest truths. And then came the challenge of aging in an industry notorious for discarding women once they reach a certain age. While Helen shattered stereotypes and defied Hollywood's cruelty toward older actresses, doing so was not effortless. She pushed through emotional and professional barriers, sometimes feeling the very real fear that roles would dry up, that the world would forget her. That time, ever relentless, might steal the legacy she had fought so fiercely to build. Yet even in her darkest moments, Helen found resilience. She began advocating for women, standing against sexism and ageism, turning her pain into power. She also learned to guard her peace, choosing privacy over publicity, real human connection over headlines, self-respect over career competition. Still, the battles she fought left their mark. Today, as she steps into her 80s, Helen carries not only the wisdom of a life fully lived, but also the emotional weight of decades spent breaking barriers, fighting stereotypes, and holding herself together when the world expected perfection. Her grace masks a lifetime of private struggle, a reminder that even the strongest icons walk through darkness on their way to the light. And now, as rumors and concerns swirl around the beloved star, fans are left wondering, what heartbreak has touched Helen Mirren's life in recent years? And why has she chosen to face so much of it away from the public eye? As Helen Mirren reaches 80, the tone around her life has shifted. What was once a celebration of unstoppable momentum has become a quieter, more reflective chapter, one that has stirred worry among fans and industry peers alike. Her appearances have become less frequent, her projects more selective, and her once busy schedule has slowed dramatically. While Helen hasn't publicly declared retirement, those closest to her say she has begun stepping away, not with drama or grand announcements, but with grace, acceptance, and quiet dignity. The concern intensified when she started speaking more candidly about fatigue, about letting go, and about the undeniable realities that come with age. She mentioned wanting to spend more time in peace, with her husband Taylor Hackford, with nature, and with the handful of loved ones who matter most. In recent interviews, her voice carries a softness, still iron-willed, still brilliant, but marked by a bittersweet calm. She openly acknowledges the aches, the slowing energy, and the bittersweet acceptance that life has seasons, and hers has entered its twilight. And while she has not confirmed any specific diagnosis, whispers in Hollywood suggest health challenges have played a part in her withdrawal. She has been spotted looking frail at times, walking more carefully, and appearing tired, far from the unstoppable force fans were used to. Friends note that she has chosen privacy instead of pity, dignity instead of headlines. If there is illness or a difficult medical chapter unfolding, Helen has chosen to face it quietly, protecting her peace rather than inviting the world into her struggle. Yet even in retreat, she remains astonishingly powerful. Helen has taken this phase of her life not as a defeat, but as a conscious transition. In her own words, she is learning to be present, to savor, not to chase. She smiles more softly now, cherishes small joys, morning sunlight, garden walks, quiet meals, laughter shared at home rather than in front of cameras. Her life has slowed, but her spirit has not dimmed. And perhaps the most moving part of Helen's journey is her gratitude, never bitterness. Instead of fighting the inevitable, she embraces it. Instead of mourning what she can no longer do, she celebrates what she has done. She looks back on a career that shattered expectations, inspired millions, and permanently changed Hollywood's view of female strength and aging. Few actors have ever worn crowns and command with such effortless authenticity. Few women have ever defied a system so gracefully. For fans, this chapter feels like a quiet, heartbreaking goodbye. Not sudden, not tragic in a dramatic way, but deeply emotional nonetheless. Helen Mirren isn't just stepping away from acting. She is demonstrating, beautifully, that knowing when to slow down is not weakness, it's wisdom. And so, her legacy now expands beyond awards and iconic roles. It becomes a lesson in dignity, in resilience, in aging without fear, in saying goodbye not because life is ending, but because she has given the world everything, and now she deserves the peace she earned many times over. As the world watches this beloved icon step gently out of the spotlight, one message becomes clear. Helen Mirren's story isn't just about tragedy. It's about strength, grace, and the courage to embrace the final act of life with beauty and truth. And that, more than any award, may be her greatest role yet.